So Brand's covering Tony Blair again in connection with Starmer and so forth with this whole World Economic Forum. In fact, I think Starmer chose Davos over Westminster, which doesn't say much to say that you're someone who's proud. Do you actually want someone who's the Prime Minister of your country, who is meant to represent your country and the people's interests, who says that he prefers Davos over Westminster? Because if you look at what I pulled Charles out on, the 1700 Act of Settlement, actually Dr. Teslari's petition, which got debated in Parliament and in the committees, which was, trying to protect our rights and say that we can't give our rights away to the World Health Organization. I pulled out Charles on that because he's repping. He's actually the rep. When he turns up at the World Economic Forum and World Health Organization, he stands and does a speech. That's repping, right? When you're a business rep, well, he's the king, but he's repping for England. You might say, I don't make the rules up anymore because the Prime Minister and the government make up the law. I just sign it off. But he's representing. So he's representing. They've sent him as a rep, like they send David Cameron as a rep. Although Cameron's resigned now, but Cameron had a little short spout in the House of Lords government, foreign affairs. And he's effectively going out repping on behalf of the government, speaking on behalf, doing deals with other countries. He's a rep. That's what Charles is doing when he goes to these other events. It's what Tony Blair's still doing now as a statesman, with global interests. So Charles is repping on behalf of England. So that means that he's involved in the negotiations. He's involved in representing the country, making a representation on behalf of England with the World Health Organization. So I called him out. I complained about him, and I said, look, the Act of Settlement says that Charles can't give our rights up to another country. And Charles is the person who sits there in the House of Lords when the government put it through, and then, he enacts it and signs it off. Or even if it's an agreement with another country, even if it's an agreement to another country's policies, he's representing us with that other organisation. And I said, look, Charles can't give our rights up or agree to them, or make a representation with another country, which involves giving our rights up, because he's acting on behalf of England as part of that deal, an agreement between Party A and Party B. So I called him out on it and said, look, he's breaking the law of the Act of Settlement. Now, this is the thing with Starmer, right? Starmer has said that he prefers Davos, which is, a foreign entity, over Westminster, our own country. Now, do you want a Prime Minister who's admitted that he prefers another country, administration or government, to our own country? That is ringing alarm bells with me. And as a Crown prosecutor, I don't think Starmer was a very good Crown prosecutor. I don't think he's a very good lawyer. I don't think that he's like many politicians. He'll stand up, he'll do the job. He's a socialist, but, so is George Galloway. You only have to be a socialist within certain circles, right? Galloway was an MP. And then, he's just been an MP again, and now he's not an MP, right? He's back in, then he's back out again. Galloway has got friends. Galloway talks to people. Galloway is, travelling around the world, right? He's a capable person. He's got his own show. He has guests on. He speaks to professors. He speaks to ex-military men. He speaks to, whoever. He's a socialist, but you wouldn't say that he's not friends with everyone. He doesn't get on with everyone. He's got opponents. He's got his own niche circles, people who's willing to talk to, people who's willing to have on his show, people who's willing to engage with. The thing with Starmer is, he goes out, he's a lawyer, he gets a job, he goes to the bar wherever it is, Lincoln's Bar or Grazing or wherever, like Blair. He learns the trade, he gets in with the circles, the people, like when you go to university, right? Although everyone who goes to university, some people are solitary or alone, some people aren't necessarily, mass socialists, although they teach you got to learn to work with people. But, as long as you get on with the right people who have got, the right, this is like political parties. Starmer fell in with the CPS. He can work with certain people who have got certain aims and goals. And this is the thing, this is like non-voters. Non-voters will not support or vote for this government. They might have different reasons, but, now it's only 59% who turned out to vote, So it's, you're getting towards half of the nation anyway, who don't even support any of the main parties in this government. And the ones who even support Labour are less, that they only won by because the other party, the other main leading party is fractioned and split up in different fractions, At the end of the day, the Liberals and the Greens have only got a small following, but it's a dedicated following. They've got loyal, regular supporters. Starmer, these people are, they're capable because they... they're socialists within certain circles, and clearly you have to be in the right circles. I mean, look, I don't think Galloway necessarily is in the right circles to get voted in and succeed in Parliament. Now he did, but that's just waxed and waned. I mean, Russell Brand probably could. If he did stand to be a politician, he might even be able to get elected into Parliament if he wanted to. He's got that much of a big following, but he just acts through his media, social media, because that's now where people are saying where it's at. But in this interview that I'm going to play in a second, Tony Blair says that it's not about the political views, it's not about the opinions or so forth. He says it's all about the tech, which gets me to think that he doesn't care about other people's opinions. But Starmer, I don't think Starmer, he's saying, oh yeah, we're going to be a party about politics, we're going to be a party about people, but all the people in the country split up and fractioned. All of the, and he hasn't got the full support of the people. What about the people who don't vote at all because they don't support any of the parties? And he's still advocating a party. If you were someone who cares about the people and cares about what people's political opinions are, you wouldn't have a political party because, at the end of the day, you're representing predefined policies, predefined positions, predefined views that are still a group or a certain cult or group or fraction of people who are actually opposed. When you have a party, you oppose. That's why it's called an opposition. True politicians don't oppose. They merely represent. They speak on behalf of their constituents. They speak on behalf of the people they're representing. And they put their view across and they vote for things of what their people want. Right? Although Starmer will say, well, this is what the Labour Party want, but, not everyone in his constituency is Labour. Who's representing in Parliament, right, in any independent cause, in any independent thing like Paper Mile, who's representing the 40% of the country, right, who, or 41%, who refuse to vote for any of these parties, but still might have opinions on many matters. Who's actually standing up and representing them in Parliament, unless they write to an MP that they didn't vote for, an MP that they don't support their party, or do a petition like they did in Wales, where even though they get more support than, for example, the Mayor of London got when they did it all themselves, without the help of the Electoral Commission, the government still is not wanting to comply. You know, it seems that when you get people together and get an opinion or a vote, these people still don't want to act in line with it. I mean, I don't know how anyone who you know, stands for Britain could say that they prefer... Why doesn't Starmer go and, you know, stand for government, you know, over at Davos, you know, in Austria or Switzerland or, you know, somewhere else? What's he even doing with the British government? You know, the last person you want as an MP surely is a person who says that they prefer Davos to Westminster. It means they're in the wrong government. And then the next thing they're up, you know, saying, oh, we're going to have a new government based on politics. This is what Roger Waters was saying, you know, and Double Down News, they were saying, you know, that Starmer's a snake or whatever. But anyway, we'll play this Blair clip, right? Listen to this Blair clip that Brand's got.
Protect us from them. I am constantly saying to my own party, Labour Party, which will probably win this election.
Your own party. Are you the leader of a political party? Are you the leader of a political party, Tony? You just said your own party. Are you the leader of any political party at this time, or are you a member of it? I don't think you're the leader of it, unless secretly you are still the leader of it.
You've got to focus on this technology revolution. It's not an afterthought.
Well, if you've got to focus on the technology revolution, I actually think that he means the technology. He means focus on the technology, which means stare at your smartphone. Effectively, if you're going to focus on a technology revolution, then you've actually got to focus on the technology, surely. But where does the technology come from? Through your mobile phone. I mean, in fact, I spend more of my life staring at my mobile phone screen now than anything, not actually going out into the world and living a life. But he says focus on that. Don't focus on your life. Don't focus on your family. Don't focus on your friends. Don't focus on your job. Don't focus on going on holiday to Davos. Don't focus on going to the Lake District. Don't focus on skiing, running, hiking, jogging, breathing the air, going to Iceland, going to the South American jungle. Focus on the tech, which basically means your mobile phone. Doesn't it, Tony? It means your mobile phone. Focus on the phone, focus on the TV and the content coming out of it. Isn't that what you mean, Tony? Focus on the messages being the signals, the sounds, the images, the visions coming out of these devices. Focus on that. Isn't that why we've got a new Department of Technology and Innovation, Tony, which literally I think Bill Gates bought for us, bought for Michelle Donlan and put him in charge of it. You know, don't pay attention to actual real life. Pay attention to just the tech.
The single biggest thing that's happening in the world today of a real...
What is the biggest thing that's happening in the world today, to me, seems these mad, crazy incidents, these mad, crazy events, these mad, crazy responses like, you know, COVID, pandemic lockdown, or Boris Johnson's dad's neighbour blows his wife's head off with a shotgun and shoots himself, scares all the Tories half to death. Then one Tory gets a mad disease and has to be operated on, almost sheared, parts of his body sheared off, perfectly timed with Barry Shearman, one of the longest serving MPs, retiring. In fact, almost when they give this MP who had half his body parts sheared off, it's perfectly timed at the time you would celebrate the retirement of Barry Shearman. What would the chances be of that, Tony? What would the chances be of that? If you went to William Hill's and bet on whether it's going to snow next Christmas or whether or not, you know, Usain Bolt's going to win the Olympics or any other thing, when Barry Shearman, if I would have gone to a bookies 50 years ago and said, you know what? I'm going to put a bet on £100 at, what are the odds? 100 to 1, 200 to 1. What are the odds that when Barry Shearman retires as one of the longest serving MPs, they're going to have, instead of giving him a standing ovation, they're going to give this other MP is going to have mysteriously been ill and had to have half his body amputated, apparently, but he miraculously survives. If that isn't, I'm Shearman, I've just had half my body sheared off. Things like that, it couldn't have been planned more precisely. It's almost like someone's written a movie, a script, and they were planning it for years. How that guy got ill, and the timing for it couldn't be more perfect. You're getting into this is what I want to talk to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. about. When JFK, got shot. All that incident and all the mystery around it, was it a setup and the Twin Towers and the other things. Because we've just got an incident now, exactly when we're opposing the Stonehenge Tunnel, which is a £2 billion road, one of the most expensive road schemes ever per mile of road, right, for distance. It's highly controversial next to an ancient site in England and symbolic heritage. The government have been planning it for a long time. And it's a tunnel, right, under the landscape. So you're talking about road sections and bridges and tunnels and tolls and so forth. And there's a massive legal case, just managed to save the money needed to do the legal case, although it sounds very expensive to me for a legal case, but, that's how much they cost apparently these days, right? Got a very strong legal case for it. There's actually some criteria around that as well. And then, I actually did for the campaign, I did like the Oliver Cromwell banknote, with Oliver Cromwell on it, because he got hung, drawn and quartered. Even after he was dead, they dug him back up again. That's got to piss the establishment off and Charles Wright. So now, there's an incident just happened a couple of days. This is the weekend now before the Stonehenge appeal. The weekend before the Stonehenge appeal, right? And an African guy, I think he's an African or foreign guy, in the Bristol area, has apparently been found with a suitcase containing his boss that he'd chopped up into bits, right? How often does that happen, And nearly bringing into context, into the news story, to associate with it, the Clifton Suspension Bridge, which is like, a bridge over the Clifton, which is actually an iconic prehistoric, amazing landscape itself, right? Going into Bristol from Avon. It's one of the most amazing and beautiful, unique landscapes. I would say probably as important as the Jurassic Coast, really. That's in the news now. The horror and terror over someone being quartered into bits. And apparently he was quoted saying my boss is a bad man or whatever. If that isn't almost kind of like, saying, King Charles, the second was bad for digging up Cromwell and dragging him around into pieces or whatever. At the same time, when we're opposing this tunnel, which is actually, Stonehenge landscape is actually apparently owned by the Crown. It's meant to be owned by Charles. Just, National Heritage or English Heritage look after the land or whatever, right? I think these incidents aren't just mojo, juju, kind of like, some kind of, effigy. I think that someone is planning these incidents like they write an episode of, Death in Paradise, or they write an episode of any, TV program. Wouldn't it be an amazing... Because Extinction Rebellion plan actions. They want people to know about it. They want to cause a response, and they want to send a message. But the only thing is that they're saying they did it, right? They're admitting, oh, we did this. If they were hiding the fact they did it, and if they were covering it up, if mysteriously a big sign appeared on the Clifton Suspension Bridge, but no one knew who wrote it, like, Banksy, the mysterious artist that no one knows his identity or whatever, I think these incidents are like Just Stop Oil strikes or Extinction Rebellion strikes or actions or Stop ULEZ, but it's been going on for a very long time, and they've got a lot more funding than Just Stop Oil or Extinction Rebellion. The Tories get donors giving them £5 million off the cuff, off the back of their hand. They chuck £5 million at the Tories. This political party has got more than £5 million. And it's all, how would you set up these incidents if you could set them up, if you could do it, if it was possible, and if you planned it, how, right? Firstly, it's almost like that Fight Club film, the main thing about this organisation is they don't want anyone to know they exist or know who they are, but they want to send a message. But the main number one priority is they don't want you to be able to get evidence of who they are or who did it. You can't prove that they set it up or staged it, and you can't get evidence to prove that. So if it was being staged and set up, you would need to get evidence of how it was done or who did it. It was like, how do you film a movie? How do you set up a stunt in a film? It's like the Masked Magician, Masked Magician reveals how magic tricks are done. So if you had a skill, firstly, or a talent or technology, that first would be used to make sure that no one can find out who you are or work out how you've done it. Now, in order to do that, firstly, if anyone did see you or know about it, you would need to be able to stop them telling people or proving it. So that would mean you had to be able to control where they go, how they get there, and who they speak to, or if they even see it in the first place. Which, if you could cut any communication on a telephone, computer, letter in the post, anything, so it never received, or they receive a fake response, then you've eliminated all forms of communication. Now, if someone was on site and saw it, like a witness, this is witness protection, really. That person, no matter how much they screamed and shouted about it, either you would have to make sure that, no one got their screams or shouts or no one heard them, or you could somehow make sure that no witnesses were present. Make sure that no one's there. It's quite easy to make sure no one's there if their phone rings and someone's sounding like their relative says they've got to go somewhere else, or they get a text message saying, oh, can you go pick up some bananas right from the shop, right? And they don't think anything of it on your way home, and then they suddenly detour, right? Get rid of all witnesses from the scene. Very easy if you've got a team like the A team, right? You get, right, there are 3 specks on the map, right? 3 flies on the window, right? There's Bob, Tom, John, right? Get them removed, right? 3 witnesses, like detoured, changed, I don't know, car engine shuts off, wife texts him to go for some bananas. Easy, execute, bang, 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 done. Communications team, SAS, communications team, all witnesses removed from the area, right? Then you've got to have the person that you need to act, who's going to do the actual thing that you need them to do, right? And in the case of, Boris Johnson's dad's next door neighbour, he apparently shot his wife and then turned the gun on himself. In this incident, we've got this guy who's so furious or mad at his boss that he goes and, massacres him or whatever. And then you've got the guy who, rams a car into all those school kids or whatever at Wimbledon, And then you've got, RFK shooting, John F. Kennedy, right? Whatever it is. Now, I am going to give witness evidence to the fact that I recently have been on the edge or verge of being provoked into doing some things that I wouldn't normally do, like furiously going and, I didn't do it, but I very nearly went and went berserk at some builders because they kept with the noise, beep, 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 every fucking day. It was driving me insane, right? I was gonna go and fucking go furious at them. That's a trigger point, right? You can get someone to attack or to strike because there's nothing you can do. And many of these things, if they're harassing people and provoking people and they can't prove it, you're using intelligence. If they can hack your apps and really upset you on your phone and flash you like really horrible YouTube images inserted into the feed and stuff like that, or adverts inserted in, you can't report it to anyone now. You're helpless. You can't, the people who respond literally are dumb. They're like, YouTube staff. It's, you're a drop in the water. And, they're not, you're not going to get assistance or help on something on that level. This is why Tony Blair's talking about the tech is so important now and the focus on the tech. And when Tony Blair's talking about the focus on the tech, he's meaning you're zoomed in, your mind is on the screen. All of the words, the writing, the sounds, the videos that are being shown to you, all of this is so tuned into the person now. Into the person, all your likes, all your frequencies, all the places you go, so personally tuned into the individual's character and personality, more than any of their best friends would ever possibly know them, these devices. They can flash you an image that they know that you're going to like or dislike, what's going to annoy you or not, and then they can intensify that. Even a messenger response with a few letters changed or a spelling mistake in it, or even, a slight misinformation, no one would know it was changed or inserted. So Tony Blair knows about getting people focused on the devices, because otherwise we can't communicate now or get help or assistance or even report anything, right? So, this is it. And these things now are tweaking people. I mean, to get a man to walk out of his house and get into a vehicle, move that vehicle, 5 miles, right, to a farm shop, to buy a savoury sausage roll, all you've got to do is focus on a technological device on his screen, right? And have a message pop up saying, it's your wife, I won't mind getting one of those nice savoury pot pies from this farm shop. And you can move a man by a couple of words on a screen. You can move him and make him go to a particular place and do a particular thing, right? Or you can say, there's a lot of people being splitting up recently, partners and wives splitting up, all you have to do is, have a message from a friend or someone saying, I saw your wife with so-and-so, and they could end up being furious and then going and shouting at them, and even if they didn't, the accusations there, then they don't know if they're lying or not. These messages and things, and how you can confirm whether someone actually sent you it or not. The thing is, you've got to thoroughly interrogate someone on the level of a professional police investigator to confirm whether or not someone did send you this or that message, and even if you do question them, you know, they usually don't exactly know the wording or can't remember, and then messages can be changed. So I think these people they're operating at this level of pathology, which is the police won't entertain it, and they're not qualified, and they don't have the time. And if it's not a serious crime, they really couldn't give a flying fuck, right? And if it is a serious crime like this guy chopping it up, they're not going to even suspect that someone even set him up. You know, it's like a scene within a scene. You know, you've got the movie directors around the set. The police actually do believe that there is a guiding force protecting them over them, like the MI5 or, you know, MI6. The police believe that they are protected by an outer organisation, by an MI5, by an MI6, which is, but apparently on their side, looking out for them, protecting them, you know, sending them to certain events or tipping them off on this or that, or making sure that, you know, they're all right or whatever it is. The police do believe in that. But what the police won't admit or believe in is that, you know, it's not actually necessarily in the interest of the public and safety. It's actually, they're actually dicking with the police, you know, intercepting their radio, sending them here, sending them there. PC Bob Oil racing around Bradford, you know. PC Bob Oil racing around Bradford from one incident to another incident, never getting to any, always being called off when he's halfway there, you know, and then called off to another by someone on the police radio that sounds like the controller. But is it the controller when he's focused on his radio, or is it Tony Blair? Because the focus on the technology, focus on the voice that's coming through the police radio, telling the helicopter that it needs to go investigate something over here, you know, make sure that it goes, you know, this way, over this flight path, it flies over Super Tansey's house and, you know, interrupts her while she's making a video, so 115,000 viewers can, you know, have a police siren go in the background while it's on there, you know, or whatever. You know, this is it, the art of planning, but for some people, this is too much. It's overthinking it, it's overthought, it's too intellectual. But the thing is that, you know, that's these TV programs though. All of these murder shows, like, you know, Columbo, Murder, She Wrote, now, you know, the Death in Paradise. You got someone sat there thinking of these things, writing out complicated crime theories, how they would do it, how do they get found out, right? And when you talk to the police, they go, that's not how policing works, that's not real life. Well, that's because the police are dumb and stupid, you know? But usually they only investigate things if there's a motive, right? What's the motive? But then they would have to have, you know, a person with a motive. When you've got corporate entities who want to buy out businesses and take over, there's a motive, right? And when they're listening in to the whole public and certain people have a interest in certain things like buying a building or setting up a business or doing something, even voting or whatever, that isn't in line with what these businesses want. In fact, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has set up this... Sorry, he mentioned this, not set up, he said that the Biden had invented this term saying, you know, there's not just misinformation, it's malinformation, you know, information which may be harmful to the company. Well, what happens if you're a company and you're thinking of buying these properties, but another bigger company already had its, you know, plans set on them and it was going to develop them for this purpose or that purpose, and if you actually bought them and succeeded, then it would be, it would be harmful to that company's plans. I mean, these companies are even suing governments if they're harming their profits. Now, if you're a super company business entity and you've got access to informations, just, you know, with your ads and scans and know everything about everyone and they're planning on this or doing that, you're getting to the point where I think that they're intervening. I think they are intervening because it's a tip-off. It's like the police getting the tip-off of a crime, right? But if you're just, John, Paul, Tommy, whatever your name is, right, and you've got a house and you're thinking of buying a property next to you or over the road or starting a business or whatever, and, someone, these companies are privy to that information through the tech. Now that they've got access to all the information, it might not be in line, it might be against their plans. We're planning on, doing this there or putting, solar panels or wind turbines or whatever. It could be anything. And I think they're using that information. And I think that what it's doing is they're getting privy information on people. They're getting privileged information and they're able to use it for planning. To plan, or even, and this is what Blair's all about. But he says, it's to stop terrorists and to catch bad people. But the bad people are the people who are actually... No random terrorist or random bomber or random, IRA person has amassed an empire, McDonald's empire. These are the people who succeed in executing their business. They succeed in executing their plans. They succeed in executing everything. They are buying everything and succeeding. They're making the tech and getting into our houses and getting into and getting you to focus on it. Success, execution every time. This is not done by these random guy in Bristol who's chopped a body up in a suitcase or Boris Johnson's dad's next door neighbour. Those people aren't the dangerous ones, right? The dangerous people are the ones who you don't know are listening in to your phone, that you don't know that, your car shut off on the way to go to the bank, to buy this property before someone else did. But then when you get there, it's too late. Someone else put a bid in and then it's gone. Or you didn't see a planning application to oppose it. This is why Tony Blair is now saying the tech is what should be focused on, but actually he wants everyone to focus on the tech and not focus on what's actually being done by the people who own the tech around us while we're distracted by the tech, because they're using the tech to actually affect and influence people.
World nature that is going to change everything. Leave aside all the geopolitics and the conflicts and war and America, China, all the rest of it.
Well, actually, what you mean, Tony, is you mean you don't care about geopolitics. You don't care about the war. You actually don't care about people's political opinion because no Prime Minister does. If you cared about law, right, Tony Blair broke the law when he implemented the congestion charge in London, because you can't put a congestion charge in London because it's against the Magna Carta of the King's Peace. Right, it's illegal. All judgments and instruments, all orders made by Parliament in violation of the Great Charter are void and illegal. Tony doesn't care about law. He cares about executing what Tony wants to do and making other people do it with the congestion charge. He doesn't care what the law is. He doesn't care what the political opinion is. He cares about what Tony wants to do. That's what Tony cares about. Right? And what enables Tony to do that? Well, the law didn't enable Tony to put the congestion charge. The law stopped Tony making the congestion charge. So Tony can't care what the law is. The law is not an obstruction to Tony. What's legal or not is not an obstruction to Tony, particularly when he was making laws up, right? Although actually it was illegal because you can't make laws up that are violating the Magna Carta, right? So... and other people's opinion, geopolitics, means that, what do other people care about or want? Well, he just said that he doesn't give a monkey's chuff about what other people care about or want. That's not important. You don't want a politician who doesn't care about what other people want or what other people are interested in, or what they're arguing about. So that means that it can't matter what other people want or care about or what they're talking about. Because what matters is what they're actually focused on, or what's, you might be having an opinion and might be arguing, but you're arguing actually through your phone and through the device, right? And if, your arguments aren't really getting anywhere, or if the devices are, focusing people on the argument maybe. In fact, if he's got you focused on the tech and on the device, arguing through the looking glass about geopolitics, then you're not actually acting out in the world and doing anything to stop it, which is why it's important to have all the Extinction Rebellion and Just Stop Oil. Really, they're trying to do something about it, although they keep getting arrested all the time because we're not getting his rights upheld. But really, the tech is, how did these polluting companies get so big businesses,
This revolution is going to change everything about our society.
So he's admitted there's a revolution, right? He's just admitted, right? He said this revolution, so he said this is a revolution. So there is a revolution. There is a revolution happening now, right? But 5 seconds earlier, he just said, don't care about the geopolitics, don't care about the, political arguments and oppositions, right? Don't care about those. Focus on the tech. But then he says, this revolution. But he's just said that he just says, don't care about the revolution. He just said, forget the revolution, forget people's opinions, forget people's points, right? Focus on the tech. Now he's saying, this revolution, so I think that the real revolution is not people's opinions or points or views or debates or geopolitics. The real revolution is the tech, people, companies, manufacturers, operators. They are executing the revolution using the devices, by us focusing on the devices, right? Keeping us distracted on the argument while they change us and change the world around us while we're distracted, right? That is essentially what it's all about.
Society, our economy, the way we live, the way we interact with each other. I think
we're not going to interact with each other when we're finished turning, because everyone's through the looking glass now. That's the point. But psychological training and manipulation. I'm having all kinds of things going wrong with my phone now, and websites. Every website that I go on now, anything that I like on there keeps getting changed or disappears, and I contact them. I'm like, it's almost like, like Zuckerberg does all these weird psychological experiments and, statistics on users, right? It's like, if you assess a device user, right, and get the button they use the most on their phone, right? If you assess all their finger movements and their daily habits and their preferences, right, and you've got a graph of which app they use the most, what's their favourite app or what's their favourite thing to do, and the one that is the highest on the graph, that the most used button or their most their most liked thing, and then you fucking deleted it or erased it, right? What would their response be? I use that button every day. I really like that. Why have you removed it? It would fuck you off, wouldn't it? It would piss you off. That is, I don't know why, and I don't know if it's only happening to me, if it's a particular hack that they're using on me, anonymous or whatever, who knows who, right? Because other people are getting different treatments, like, Tony Robinson's getting arrested, Extinction Rebellion and Just Stop Oil. I'm not saying that bad things are happening to other people, but I aren't going out at the moment. I aren't doing things and travelling because I can't travel at the moment. I'm just at home. So whatever they're, doing to me, it's just happening inside my own house, on my computer and devices, like that weird Norton thing that they've put on going back to 2013 when I started my campaign, which is like taking about £2,000 from me, which I never knew about. Money was coming out. I don't know how it's happened. Right, I don't know if I actually did a PPI claim at one point, and I claimed back about £1,000 or £2,000. So I don't know if it's the banks and BlackRock Vanguard who, it's almost like PPI, isn't it? Taking the P, and do you see with your eye? Are you you can see someone taking the P. I can see when someone's taking the P. PPI, it's almost like, they're taking the C thing. I can see when someone's taking the P out of me with my bank account and finances, So this is why I've got an issue with this Andre Visek now with his Norton scam. Although the next thing now is all this, ExpressVPN that they're making everyone get. That's more money to hand over. More all this information they're getting off people and so forth.
Living through a period of massive change, right? This is the biggest technological change since the Industrial Revolution.
You see, massive change. Well, I would have thought that a massive change would be sperm count dropping 50% since World War II, and people's general weight going through the roof, like obesity rates, particularly in America. I mean, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has done a hell of a lot of programs talking about the health of Americans. That was a big change since the 1800s. I'm not saying that there weren't people overweight or obese, but the numbers in people of it have gone up because of less exercise and more eating. That was a big change. People don't seem to be focused or operating on a deep intellectual reflective level anymore. A lot of school teachers are saying that even the school staff aren't debating and arguing anymore because of this blocking culture when they don't want to challenge each other or debate things. They just want to switch off and watch morning TV or talk about X Factor or whatever. They're actually making people less tolerant of things they don't like through the devices. It's all psychologically set up now. That YouTube and Google and Facebook have been playing some mind-bending games with people, really putting some really horrible psychological treatments up. And at the end of the day, we don't know for certain if Zuckerberg actually knows it's happening. I don't think he can. I don't think he can even know what's happening on his own platform. Because once you get into having these departments like 77th Brigade, removing things, and messing around with platforms, Zuckerberg hasn't got a clue what's happening on Facebook, and I don't think that Neil Mohan has a clue what's happening on YouTube, because at one point they were putting some really nasty, horrible insertions into the feeds. And it was personally targeted and really horrible and nasty. And still now, there's a thing, right, to do with humans, which is like they go after things they want. It's to do with the will, the human will and desire. If you want something, you will seek it out and go after it. And if you don't like something, you will usually avoid it or have no interest in it. Now, what Blair and his entire elite need to do is they need to get you to like all the things that they like and what they want the world to be. Style, trend, fashion, the buildings, everything. If you like it, you'll accept it and you'll pursue it. If they want everyone to build, to now, Starmer's wanting everyone to build houses. On Halifax Bank, they don't call them housewives anymore. They call them homemakers. Makers, they make homes, they build homes. They actually make them themselves. So they want more people to make houses, to make homes, to go to B&Q, to buy things, to build. Now, if the bank is politically aligned with Labour now, right, and Starmer's new vision, right? The actual guy who's running Halifax Bank, right? He'll set all his website up and the keywords and the wording and the the wording terms to psychologically influence and affect people. So if we change, it's like accept cookies. They got the whole world. That's big. That's a big change. Blair is talking about focusing on tech and big changes, right? Accept cookies, that was a big change. That appeared on everyone's devices, on all the websites. Everyone was using that term. Someone threw the hat in the ring. Someone threw it in there, like on the Gladiator, Maximus the Merciful. Someone threw it in, and everyone picked up on it. Accept the cookies, and the cookies appeared everywhere in KFC, McDonald's, Subway, everywhere, and everyone started eating them, and then everyone's got diabetic. That's a big change, and that's through focusing on tech. So Blair this is what he's talking about, and this is how it influences and affects people. I actually think that Blair is behind the framework for it and the people, but he will vehemently profess that he will claim that he wants people to eat healthy and be fit. And he wants people to eat. He apparently Blair has these parties and events, and it's only the healthiest food there, and only the healthiest snacks. But that's like saying, oh, it's not my fault. It's not me. When he was Prime Minister, leading the Labour Party, he wasn't doing that then, was he? He wasn't saying, well, I've only the healthiest food at my parties, only the healthiest food for the nation, only, we're only eating salads and so forth. He was putting the pedal to the metal so they could build the framework and structure for all the fast food drive-thrus, all the McDonald's, and all, sugar beet factories, more for the economy, while he was putting the illegal congestion charge. So Blair is the worst person in the world. He's a fiend of a demon, in my opinion, right? What he's saying about this tech and the focus on the tech. But this is the thing, you could say the example of the Roman army, it was only possible for the Roman army because they paid people off with money. They bought them first and employed them. They got the tools, all the shields, the swords, the military weapons, and training. Right? The way I'm seeing the mobile phone now is almost like the shield, the Roman shield. It's a technological thing, and they just have to get people to use it and focus on it. They want you to like it and all the things that you pop up, like the things on the screen more than you like your actual people around you, your friends, your life. Like the light up screen, which is what Zuckerberg's wanting to implement with his metaverse. But Blair's even advocating big change. Like, he's got the right to make big changes that, people who are controlling the tech. In fact, right, if I remember clearly, earlier he said, forget the geopolitics, forget, the opposition, the arguments, the debates, the opinions. Well, those are things people care about. Those are people and their views and what they want, right? What they like, what they don't like. So Blair is effectively saying, fuck them. I don't care what button you press what you like, and I don't care what button press you don't like. I don't care what you're arguing about, right? He's effectively saying, I'm bothered about, the actual, the device, the medium by which you're debating through or focused on, the actual machine, the actual thing itself, or possibly other devices and machines which are, in operation while we're focused on the light up screen,
Or sure, how do you use it to transform healthcare, education, the way government functions?
Transform healthcare. Well, that's joke, isn't it? Transform healthcare. The fact that in Blair's government, the explosion of all of the food industry, all these the Indian and Chinese foods that literally built restaurants, and Labour governments gave planning permission to build Chinese restaurants and Indian restaurants everywhere with all the excess sugar plum sauces which are making people sick, and sweet and sour sauces and all these really thick kormas with sugar in and all this. Blair is literally climbed out of it's like he climbed out of a swimming pool and said that he's not wet. It's like Blair literally swam in the sewage, and now he's kind of like got out of the pool and he's, dried himself off, and he's saying, I didn't fill that pool up with shit, or I didn't fill it up with, sugar or spam or whatever. He's saying, no, I eat healthy food, while there's people, wheeling around, in the quicksand or whatever. And he's saying, no, that's not my problem. It's not my fault. I didn't contribute towards that. I mean, we've got to change everything now. We've got to revolutionise it and use the tech, But it was his fault in the first place. He's contributing a massive part to it, and a lot of what he's done is illegal. He broke the law. The man's joke. And people like that, even if you got Blair in a courtroom, right? And if you it's literally like, I'm certain that if you held up a large card with the number 5 written on it, Blair would say that, he'd deny that he'd said 5 on it. He would say that he'd said 63 or something. These type of, this breed of politicians, Cameron, Blair, even Starmer now, Sunak, they are delusional people. They're delusional because they've got a mission, they've got an objective, a goal, and they're bred to win, right? To the extent where who would want to shake Tony Blair's hand? Hello, Tony Blair, and say, Blair, the 3 people have tried to arrest him. Blair is a liar. And he doesn't believe in the truth or fact if it's something he doesn't like, unless it's something that he likes. If it's not in Tony Blair's like list or in his plans, he doesn't care what other people's opinions are or thoughts. It's all about the tech, because the tech is the implementation of not what other people want or like or arguing about, what Blair wants the world to be. The next big change which makes it possible. He's Prime Minister, he's calling the shots, he's putting the legislation through, he makes it possible. It's all execution. Blair is about getting things done his way, what he wants, or what, and then any mistakes he's made in the past, he's like, cleansing, he's not nothing to do with me. Yeah, but it's got your fingerprints all over it, Tony. You did it. You put an illegal congestion charge in London when it's not possible in law. You're a criminal, and you can't have parliamentary privilege from that because, it's fraud. It's a fraudulent order, void order. It's a breach of privileges, so you're not protected like Jimmy Savile, Tony. You're a criminal, and you didn't have parliamentary privilege at the time because you broke the law which says that you can't make any judgments or orders in violation of the Great Charter. They're void. It's a breach of privilege, Tony. You're a criminal, and you can be prosecuted in a court. You don't have parliamentary privilege, Tony. You don't have parliamentary privilege, right? And if anyone on this planet was standing in front of you, they say, Tony, why did you put the congestion charge in London when it's illegal to do it? It's not possible, Tony. You can't do it in law. But, I'm Tony Blair. I don't care. I'm going to execute, my things with the tech. like, evading liability for breaching the Great Charter, evading liability for, putting the pedal to the metal with building this insanely unhealthy food network that he helped champion all of the ill health, and now, he's a health guru. I'm Tony Blair. Here's a bowl of salad. I'm the health guru. Yeah, but Tony, why does it say, built by Tony Blair on the top of every fucking McDonald's? Built by Tony Blair, championed by Labour, championed by Tony Blair. We got them to like it. Oh, a big change. Big changes. We like this now. Chinese restaurant, Indian restaurant, none of a drive-through. Like this. Big changes. Big changes. Now Blair's like, there's nothing to do with me, that. Nothing to do with me. I'm like a health guru. Bollocks. He's the, you couldn't have more of a hypocritical person. These people are vile, self-deniers. They're absolutely despicable, psychopathic, delusional megalomaniacs who are absolutely dangerous to humanity. And they should not be allowed anywhere near this tech. They shouldn't even be allowed to think about tech. Like, Magneto in some kind of plastic prison cell, where they're not allowed any metal near them, that literally is, but we're all going to end up like that if we end up in the metaverse anyway with those goggles over his faces.
This dude owns a bunch of shares in a company that's going to buy up health data, sell it and repackage it. He's always been pro-ID. He's always been pro-ideas. You should have ID, We should be able to look at your ID. We should be able to look at your stuff. How will these globalist alliances be affected by BRICS, the new financial alliances that are